Hello everyone, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink, and surprise surprise, using the Simon Says Stamp Beautiful Flowers stamp set again. I'm obsessed with this set, I reach for it all the time, and I just had to use it again for this week's Color Throwdown Challenge. So I'm using my regular sized Tim Holtz stamp platform today. I also used one of my MISTI creative corners so that I could position my paper higher up. I had a feeling I was going to want to re-stamp this, so I wanted to make sure I had this lined up and that I could reline it up again a little bit later. And I'm using BRISTOL smooth cardstock, and I stamped the large floral image with VersaFine ONYX black ink. And I actually heat set that with my heat tool just because the BRISTOL Smooth has that smoother coating, and I wanted to make sure the VersaFine was completely dry before I color over it. And for my coloring today, I am using Distress Oxide inks. I haven't used these in a while to watercolor with, and thought it'd be kind of fun to do some messy watercoloring. I started doing this a while ago after watching a bunch of Kelly Ladivola's videos. Her style of coloring and the way she would go outside the lines really just inspired me to really start doing that more. So my first layer is extremely messy. You know, I just get the color down, I let it go completely outside of the lines. And what I like about that is someone who's I do have a bit of OCD. I'm very type A. I always used to struggle with this, and I still do sometimes. But by going outside the lines with the first layer, just kind of lightly letting it do its thing, it makes it so much easier to go in with my second layer and not be so perfect about it as well, because there's already a bit of color down, it's already outside the lines, so I don't have to worry about it as much. So I let it dry completely, which I did speed along with my heat tool. And then I painted on my second layers, again, using those same Distress Oxide colors. Now, Distress Oxides, because they have the pigment ink quality to them, I wouldn't call them chalky, but they definitely will obscure some stamped lines if you stamp them like I have in black. That was why I was pretty sure I would want to restamp this. If you watch Kelly Ladivola's videos, you will see that most of the time, she actually goes back and she will trace over the lines with a black pen, which just makes everything pop. I admire that dedication. I don't have the patience for that. I really don't. So if I can avoid it, I would rather just restamp, especially an image like this that has a ton of lines. It's not just the outline, like there's all the detail and everything as well. So I did all of my painting. I kept it fairly simple. And then I did a bunch of splatter. The splatter is where I really made a big mistake. I love my splatter. Don't get me wrong. I usually just do, my Copic Opaque white as a splatter. Sometimes I'll do my black soot distress paint as a splatter. But I don't often do Distress Oxides as a splatter. And I knew I shouldn't have done this. And it's because with Distress Oxides, they look like they're dry. I honestly did use my heat tool. I thought they were dry. They look like they're dry. I did not give them enough time. I smeared the splatters really bad. So we will see that in a minute here. But I thought everything was dry and it wasn't. But I still lined it up in my stat platform again. I used the creative corner to get it lined up. And I had to move it because it's in the way of the stamp. But got everything lined up. Restamped it with the VersaFine ONYX blacks that brought back all that detail of the original stamped image. And then I saw, the mess I'd made with the splatters, which doesn't look so bad on camera, but in real life, it's very obvious. And when I was trying to erase it with my sand eraser, I found that there was more splatters that weren't dry, and I was just making more and more of a mess. I was like, no, we're done. We're done. I need to salvage this somehow. I can't use this as a full piece. That's what, my original plan was. So to remedy that, I was going to cut that whole open white space of splatters right off. Just cut it off. So I used the stitched WIMBLEY Borders wafer dies from Simon. These are actually two separate dies. I've just kept them together because the way I end up using them, it doesn't matter. So it cut off that edge, and it also added a fun little stitching detail. So went with that, and then decided to add this fun sunrise border wafer die. So things ended up kind of turning out great. These are dyes I normally don't reach for very often, but using them I was like, oh, this is why I liked them in the first place. So I had die cut that from some light yellow cardstock, and then I pulled out the older Painted Friend wafer die from Simon, and I die cut some surf blue cardstock 3 times with that, and then stacked those together with my multimedia matte adhesive. And then for my little watercolor panel there, I adhered that to my white cardstock base with my little Xyron tape runner. And then to adhere this little die cut yellow sunrise border, I just applied my multimedia matte adhesive to kind of the thicker areas of it. I didn't coat the whole thing, just enough to hold it in place and adhere it to my card. And then to hide that kind of the edge between those 2 die cuts, I just took a strip of some coral sort of colored cardstock from my scrap drawer. So just pulled that out and added that, and then adhered my die cut word friend again with that multimedia matte adhesive. And then to finish the inside of the card, I lined my card base up into my stamp platform again. I've cleaned off this stamp. It's stained now. It is completely stained. I've used it so many times. You know, I've stamped it black, stamped it in different colors, all that stuff. It is becoming very well loved, and I am okay with that. But cleaned it off, and then I inked it up with Simon's Surf Blue dye ink. Stamped that on the inside of the card, and then I lined up one of the sentiments from the Beautiful Flowers set, and I'm going to ink that up with that same VersaFine ONYX black ink and stamp that on the inside of the card. So that finished off the inside. And then as final little bit of embellishment on the outside of the card, I pulled out some Studio Caudia Iridescent Hearts crystals that I love these. They just, if I can find ways to add them to my cards, I totally do. So I just thought they would look pretty on this. So I used those as well as some Studio Caudia just iridescent crystals just to, you know, bring it all together, add a little bit of bling without going too crazy. And I'm going to adhere all these into place with little dabs of the multimedia matte adhesive, just picking those up with my jewel picker, putting down a little bit of adhesive, and then pressing them into place and making sure those hearts are kind of straight. Again, like I said, I've got a bit of a type A personality, so I do like things to be straight. So I'm able to kind of wiggle them around before the glue like fully sets. And that finished off today's card. So as always, I will have links below the video to my blog post. I'll have links to all the supplies used. I'll have a link to the color challenge on my blog, so you can check that out below if you're interested. Thank you all so much for watching and subscribing and thumbs upping and commenting on my videos. I appreciate it so very much, and I will see you all very soon in the next video. Bye!